Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
Many of you have likely heard about Geek Squad or any variety of computer technician services that are available in your community. In fact, we've talked about Geek Squad before, whether it's good or whether it's bad, people sharing stories on both sides of that particular issue. But apparently, something had happened, at least in Canada, where they did an informal, I guess, study, so to speak, to see how many of these so-called geeks were actually geeks, helping people through problems. Now, you know a lot about this, Kat?
I do, actually. Not a lot, but enough. I came across this story, actually, thanks to SC Thor here. I was looking for stories for my blog this morning, and he pointed me at one. And it had to do with... Now, Alan, you'll have to help me with the link, or with who did the study, the CBC?
Yes, the Canada Broadcast Corporation.
There we go. Basically, they did a test of an informal sort, infected a computer, broke it on purpose, and then called places like Geek Squad to come and try to fix it. And the sad thing that they found is only about 3 out of 10 technicians actually knew what the problem was.
Wow.
And that's scary. So I decided to take it a step even further. Because I've heard so much negativity about Geek Squad, I filled out an application and basically dumbed myself down and made it look like I basically could barely turn a computer on, let alone give away the knowledge that I do have. And I actually received a call within an hour. An hour. They wanted to hire me, knowing, supposedly that I had absolutely no computer experience, no knowledge of fixing anything, no hardware, no networking, nothing. I even asked the lady, what kind of training I would get. Is there some kind of training to help me with this? And she literally started laughing. That scared me.
Wow.
Definitely does not give me the warm fuzzies, let me tell you. No, it's not my personality. Oh, and Uncle John just pointed out too. They're not doing any kind of background checks. They didn't do a background check. They weren't asking what kind of certifications I had. Nothing. And they're going to charge an arm and a leg and send these people into my home to fix a computer. Yeah.
Even if they're not doing background checks, if they're even, let's say you have sensitive material on your computer, how do you know that these people are legitimate, non-convicted? What am I trying to say here? Identity theft people,
right,
like that steal people's identity.
Well, there was
this.
There was an issue of this. I think it did come down to a Geek Squad, I guess, team that they had stole data from a porn actress's hard drive, and then she was murdered. In an unrelated incident, but then they kind of felt genuinely bad about doing it. But you can only trust people as far as you can trust people. I don't think it's not a Geek Squad issue, is what I'm saying. It's a people issue. I'm sure that everybody's got complaints about these teams of technicians who aren't a part of Best Buy, who are part of any organization.
So definitely, it's not just Best Buy. It's not just Geek Squad, Yeah. And I'm not knocking by any chance. Please don't anybody get really ticked off at me and scream hate mail at me. I'm not knocking every single technician that does home service. I know several of you personally, and I know you know what you're doing, but that's the point. The normal user who calls a place like this, whether it's Best Buy or anybody else, they don't know you. They don't know that you haven't been trained or certified or anything else. Alan, what was that thing about the $2,000, the dust-free room or whatever?
Yes.
What was that?
One of the technicians decided that that's what they had to do to fix this computer with this simple little software glitch that they had invented to make the hard drive unbootable or something like that. So they decided that the hard drive was completely broken, and then to get your data back, they would have to send it to a recovery lab, and it would cost like $2,000.
Wow.
And
so
they
completely
made rip off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really what you're looking at here is these people are calling these teams and organizations like Geeks to Go because they don't
Geek Squad.
Sorry, Geek Squad. Because they don't trust, the high school kid down the street. But what they don't seem to understand is that it's the same people that they're getting. They're getting the same quality of service.
I mean, they don't have any prerequisites, like A-plus certifications for these
Not
organizations.
at all. Like Kat said, she just filled out an application that said she had no qualifications, and they called her within an hour.
Well, I didn't even tell you guys this. I don't think I talked about it on the video. I went into Radio Shack. It was a couple weeks ago when I needed to get the capacitor to replace the component in my Tix clock, and I was going to solder it. I did solder it together. Of course, I totally. I botched the job, but it still does work. So I must have done something right. As I was going through things, I heard someone was asking about PDAs at the store. He was asking the service person. And the guy was trying to explain, well, there's Palm, and then there's the Microsoft. And the guy was just looking just for simple management. So on his way out, the service guy really didn't have an answer for him. So I turned to the guy, and I kind of pulled a Pirillo, and I said, well, if you're doing this, then you probably want this. If you're doing that, then you probably want that. And, kind of wrapped it up in about 3 minutes or so. And so I'm going through and I'm asking more questions about the components for the circuit board. And the guy asked, he says, so, we're going to be hiring this holiday season. I'm like, oh, cool. And I kept asking questions, like not even thinking anything. He's like, if you have, basically, he was offering me a job. And I'm like, no, I don't have time for that. But I did have a job offer from the local Radio Shack. So in case this online video thing doesn't work out, in case, I'm very thankful.
To go to.
I'm very thankful.
The local Radio Shack.
For sponsors.
I wanted to.
Like GoDaddy, great sponsor. You can register your own domain name at GoDaddy.com by using the coupon code Chris1. Register your own domain name. So I got my little sponsorship message thing in there.
Yeah.
Because I forgot.
I want to get...
Nice segue.
Yeah, good segue.
On ThinkGeek, you can actually get a T-shirt that says "I don't work here" to wear when you go to Radio Shack.
Okay, so here's my question. Let's bring this to a bigger picture. What can people do to safeguard themselves against being A, ripped off, or B, kind of swindled to begin with?
Okay, that brings up the point I was just getting ready to make, actually. Uncle John said something in chat just a minute ago, and I actually do this myself, too. I don't do a lot of home service because I just don't. But he says what he does is brings his credentials with him in written form for a customer to look at so they know exactly who and what they're dealing with. And I do that as well. I either email them or send them to them ahead of time or bring something with me showing in writing, this is what I know, this is where I've trained, this is what my certifications, everything. And that's what you need to do. You need to ask questions, just like, Chris always says, ask. Do your research. Know who you're talking to. Know who you're dealing with. And don't just assume because they work for Geek Squad, they automatically can fix it.
Let me make a clarification. When I said, keep from being ripped off, and then I said swindled, they're not. I don't really. I mean, they may be one and the same. Being ripped off, I would say, instead of saying, oh, okay, I've got to send my hard drive in for $2,000, getting a second opinion. Or getting swindled in the first place.
They're taking advantage of,
right.
Basically.
Just doing research, basically. So they're not... I'm separating them in my mind, but maybe I'm not verbalizing it that well at, 12:48 in the morning.
It makes more sense now than what you're saying.
Yeah.
Definitely. Research. Research is key. I'm getting ready to, dear. Thank you. I got to bring this up. Chris knew I was going to. There are so many legitimate good websites that you can get help for free. There are step-by-step tutorials all over the internet on everything.
Yeah, but it boils down to convenience. Yeah, but the problem is, that's fine. True. That's fine for people like us, but for the average person, they're just going to go with whatever's convenient, or they're just going to go with whoever they trust. And in many cases, they're going to trust these companies.
A lot of people need to save that money.
Yeah, they may need to save that money. But if you're being told,
I couldn't afford Squad.
But a lot of people are scared to even deal with the computer on a technical level. They just want it to work. So I mean, when I'm at work, I'll have someone ask me. They'll be like a coworker, clerk, or whoever's in the office to have a computer problem. They'll ask me, and they'll say, "Well, can you help me out with a problem?" And I'll usually help them out. And I just do it because that's what I like to do.
So the question is,
a couple.
Go ahead. Continue.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, the question is how, because I equate this to like what happens when I need to get my oil changed. Now, there are tutorials and videos on how to change oil all over the place, and I've watched them. But when it actually comes down to doing it, I'm like, I don't want to screw this up. And I know a lot of people view the computer in much the same way. So the question is, yes, do your research, information, but the question is still, how can people deal on a local level with understanding that someone who is allegedly an expert may not be? The assurances of knowing their credentials, I think, is a good point to make. I think introducing a second opinion at some level is also something very valid, but how can the consumer, how can the user out there feel empowered by it rather than restricted or a little bit overwhelmed and intimidated? How can the consumer be empowered with this decision?
Wow.
How? I mean, do you have an answer? Is there an answer to that?
Honestly, I don't know. That's really good.
To somebody, ask somebody who's used them before.
Ask for opinions. Ask for other people that have had to get help.
Experience, but you probably run into with Geek Squad is because they employ a wide range of people. Just because your friend
because one tech was
Geek
good,
Squad has a good tech doesn't mean that you're going to get a good one.
Yep.
That's
or vice
true.
versa.
Same thing with professors in college.
That's why I've always preferred personally the smaller guys. The guy that's a one-man operation like Uncle John or whomever. Maybe a small computer store. To me, I would trust them a lot quicker than I would the large company like Geek Squad or someone else.
I mean, I would normally...
my personal opinion.
I mean, if I don't have the time to do something for someone, I would maybe reference them like to a local, like they're saying, mom and pop PC shop in town. Usually, like those places, you get more one-on-one. It's not like you feel like you're being rushed in, you drop your computer off and you're gone. I mean, they'll spend because it's a local place and they don't deal with so many people. They may take the time to explain things a little bit better to you and tell you exactly what the problem is and put it in simpler terms for a person instead of going to Geek Squad. Basically you drop the computer off. They tell you that whatever your problem is, they fix it and then you pay the bill and then they don't want to ever see you again. That's what I get with Best Buy. I'm really turned off with Best Buy, to be honest with you, in that whole.
Well, in full disclosure, I worked for Best Buy over Christmas break, just because I needed a job, and honestly it just sounded like fun. I never really worked for a store like it before, and it was a lot of fun because I was very passionate. Windows 95 had just been released. In fact, I almost got fired because I refused to sell any Packard Bells, which ended up. I know I've mentioned that in videos in the past, but it's a true story. In many cases I cared a little too much, and that's not. It's not slamming any of these larger companies. They're doing it for a reason, but just know that a big company is not the only answer. You can, in some cases, find your help online. You can be empowered with enough information so that if someone tells you that it's going to cost you $2,000 to do, probably not the case. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. For instance, if your hard drive does suffer from like a head crash or something that is just completely
physically wrong with it.
Right. In fact, my father had the worst hard drive crash of any kind, could not recover it. Not with SpinRite, not with anything. And even when we sent it to, I think, Drive Savers, and we also sent it to data doctors, they couldn't recover it. So, I mean, we knew, or at least I knew enough to say, okay, yeah, this is a big problem. But I would have told him, get a second opinion. Always get a second opinion, especially when they're asking for more money. I mean, just don't think that they are not. I guarantee, no matter where you live, they are not the only game in town.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you go to the doctor.
Yeah.
You don't like what a doctor says. You go to another doctor.
That's right.
Exactly.
Opinions are like hard drives. Everyone's got one.
Amen.
And sometimes it crashes, just like opinions and operating systems. Anyway, so if anybody else out there has got suggestions for what consumers can do to protect themselves, or to just be more aware of what's going on, and understand the mindset isn't like geeks. I mean, geeks operate on one level. We enjoy this stuff. But you got Ponzi, my wife, she doesn't care. She's just going to go with whatever the sales person or the technician tells her, and that's it. How can people like our non-geek friends, family, how can they get along in this world? What can they do to empower themselves in these situations? Leave your comment or remark. Email me, chris@pirillo.com. We'll take all kinds of feedback on this, on both sides of the issue. And, of course, you're welcome to swing by the chat room, talk with a handful of us, including Wireless Packet, SC Thor, Kat, the people who have been on the call with me tonight, as well as myself when I'm there. And that's at one URL, live.pirillo.com. Yeah, like I said, that's really what we're here for, to try to help people at just about any level. Well, largely related to technology, less about anything else. Why are you guys laughing?
Jenny's comment, she can't figure out why Ponzi would call Geek Squad when she's married to you.
It's because I always get upset when I try to teach
No
I do believe there's some videos of that somewhere.
Yeah.
Join us anytime, day or night, live.pirillo.com. We'll eat you later.